Here's the question I get more than any other. You're just a middleman. Why shouldn't the store buy straight from the factory, cut you out, and the product gets cheaper? Right. It sounds obvious. Skip the middle layer, skip the markup. So, today, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to do something better. I'll lay out my actual work, week by week, task by task. The stuff nobody sees. And at the end, you can judge for yourself whether this middleman is adding a markup or absorbing the punches so you never feel them. And yes, I'll also tell you how much we actually make. That's the number most people in my industry would rather not say out loud. First, let's kill a myth. It's not that the factory doesn't want to sell to you directly. It's that the factory you're imagining, one that can just ship to your door, doesn't really exist. Let me describe a real one. The factory I work with. Their incense making is world-class, genuinely. But here's what they don't have. An export license. Customs declarations can't even go out under their company name. No English-speaking sales team. Nobody who handles international paperwork. No idea what a US retailer needs in terms of testing reports, ingredient documentation, or labeling rules. And that's not because they're backward. It's division of labor. The best chef in the world doesn't necessarily know how to run a restaurant. China is full of factories like this. They pour 100% of their energies into making one thing extremely well, at an extremely low cost. Exporting is simply a different job. Now, flip to the factory's point of view. A small overseas buyer wants 3 cartons of goods. To serve that order, the factory needs someone who speaks English, handles time zones, files export paperwork, arranges a tiny shipment. The communication cost is higher than the order is worth. Given the choice, they'll take one big domestic order over 10 tiny foreign ones every single time. So the first wall between an American store and a Chinese factory isn't language, it's structure. The factory was never built to serve you. Now let me open my actual task list. 1 export order, start to finish. Here's what happens in the middle. Step 1, sourcing and inspection. The factory will tell you everything is fine, but a sample and a bulk order are 2 different animals. I go to the workshop. I watch production runs, I check raw materials, I keep a sealed sample to compare against the final goods. If the shipment doesn't match the sample, the buyer doesn't eat that loss. I do. Step 2, quotes and compliance. I translate the factory's Chinese-speaking world into the buyer's English-speaking world. Price terms, FOB, CIF, who pays for what, which kind of lab issues the testing report the US side needs, ingredient documentation, carton labeling. Miss any one of these, and the goods don't get stuck at the factory. They get stuck at customs. Step 3, export paperwork. Remember, the factory has no export license, so the customs declaration goes out under my company. Commercial invoice, packing list, certificate of origin, a stack of documents where one wrong digit can park a container at the port for weeks. Step 4, logistics. Everything from last week's video. Booking space, wrangling freight forwarders, paying the sensitive cargo surcharge because incense counts as sensitive goods, then customs clearance on the other side. Step 5, and this is the one nobody sees. I front the money and I carry the risk. Very often, I pay the factory in full before the goods even ship, and the buyer settles with me only after delivery. If anything breaks in between, damaged cargo, a rejected shipment, a currency swing, a buyer who vanishes, that loss lands on me, not on the factory, and not on the store. Step 6, after sales. If something's wrong with the goods, I'm the first name on the complaint. I fight it out with the factory. I arrange the replacement. The buyer makes 1 phone call. I make 20. Here's the summary. The buyer experiences 2 actions. Place order, receive goods. Between those 2 actions sit more than a dozen points of friction, and every single one of them gets absorbed by this layer you call the middleman. All right, the money question. I won't dodge it. In this industry, Exporters and trading companies typically work on very thin margins, usually somewhere between 2 and 10%, depending on how much of the job they take on. It's so standardized that there's trade shorthand for it. Quotes are labeled C2, C3, C5, meaning a 2, 3, or 5% commission is built into the price. Pure paperwork only export agents can charge as little as 1 to 3%. Full service, sourcing, inspection, compliance, after sales, everything I just described pushes toward the upper end. Does the upper end of that range sound like a lot? Go back to that task list, the inspection trips, the cash eye front, and the interest and bad debt risks that come with it. The documentation work, the after-sales fights, all of it comes out of those few percentage points. And remember the phrase this channel has repeated for 5 episodes now: thin margins, staggering volume. Without volume, that percentage doesn't even cover the office rent. We live under the same iron law as the factory and the shipping line: thin slices, survival by scale, which is why the math of cut out the middleman and save 10% is usually wrong. You're not cutting a 10% markup. You're cutting a dozen jobs and a pile of risk, and none of it disappears. It just becomes your time, your mistakes, and your losses. Some of you still want to try going direct, fair enough. Let me tell you what usually happens. Not to scare you, just patterns I've seen play out with the details blurred. Gate 1, that factory you found on a B2B platform. A good chunk of them are actually trading companies too. You thought you cut out the middleman. You just swapped him for one you've never met. Gate 2, you reach a real factory. Then the minimum order quantity hits. Their production line starts in the tens of thousands of units. You want 2 cartons. The quote they send back isn't a price. It's a polite way of saying no. Gate 3. Somehow you place an order. Now, who arranges the testing report? Whose name goes on the customs declaration? And when the goods don't match the sample, who do you call? These aren't risks you might hit. They're a queue of problems waiting for their turn. The few percent you saved usually gets handed right back the first time something goes wrong, plus your time, which nobody refunds. Now let me be honest in the other direction too. I'm not saying you should never go direct. When your volume grows, when your reorders are stable, when you can afford your own sourcing and quality control people, going direct to the factory is a natural evolution. Big retailers did exactly that. So here's my honest conclusion. The middleman isn't forever. We're the layer that spreads your risk while you're still small. When you're big enough to carry that risk yourself, you graduate. Let's zoom out across all 5 episodes. How a product gets made, how an industry roots itself, how a market predicts your wants, how goods cross the ocean for pennies, and, today, what the invisible layer in the middle actually does. Now you can see the whole chain. Every link runs on the same law: thin margins, staggering volume, and every link absorbs friction so the next link doesn't feel it. Made in China was never one factory's story. It's the sound of this entire chain clicking together. I've worked inside this chain for years. This channel will keep telling it from the inside out. No hype, no horror stories, just what I actually see. Next week, those B2B platforms where the internet says you can buy direct from China, how a real deal actually happens there, and how far the listed price sits from the real closing price. If you want the real economics behind the things on your shelf, subscribe. I'm here every week.